Alrighty, let's do another 2 inequality problems. So again, whenever I'm taking notes in a notebook, I want to label the header of my page so when I flip through my notes I can find it very quickly. I am going to start with 3x minus 15 is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 5. Even when the problem's written out on the paper for me, I always like to rewrite it to make sure I understand everything that it's being asked of me. As always, I want to get my letter on the left and my constant on the right. Constant's a fancy word for a number. Letter is a not fancy word for variable. Whenever I move across my inequality symbol, I have to do the opposite. The reason that is because I want to maintain what this means. And if I do one thing to one side and not the other, it makes it unfair. Just kind of like if 2 siblings got presents from their parents and one got $100 and one got $5. It's not maintaining the balance. So whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other to make sure it's fair. In order to move this guy over here, I have to do the opposite. And the reason I do the opposite is because it's moving across that line. I'm going to move the constant over here. It's currently a negative 15, so I'm going to make it a positive 15. Sometimes it's helpful to circle the numbers that you're moving so that way you can see the sign in front of it to help you remember that it's a positive. Same thing over here, I'm moving the negative 15, so circling that symbol in front of it does kind of help you know what sign to do. Now I'm just combining my like terms. So this is 3x's and 2x's. It literally means that you have 3x's and you have 2x's. So the reason we're adding them is we're just putting them all together, which will be 5. Again, that's combining like terms. So we're putting the stuff that looks like it looks the same together. We're putting the stuff that looks the same together. Same over here, I have 5 and 15. I could do 5 tallies and 15 tallies, but that will take a lot of time. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. If I'm taking a test, I'm doing all of this in my calculator. I'm making sure to write down my inequality sign as I go because we want nice, clean math. It's kind of like writing sentences in English. You want to keep your math grammar on point. So this is good math grammar, this is good math grammar. These are actually called math sentences. Now, to get the x to be 1x, I need to do the multiplicative inverse property, which means, it's also known as the identity property. If you divide a number by itself, it becomes 1. And then again, we have to maintain the balance. So I'm going to do it to both sides, which will give us 4. Bring down that inequality sign. We always check, did I multiply or divide by a negative? I did not, so I don't need to flip my inequality sign. So again, always check, did you multiply or divide by a negative? The answer is no, so we don't have to do anything else. Here is our answer here. Our rock star number is 4, so I'm going to put 4 in the middle. The number greater than 4 is 5. The number less than 4 is 3. If I translate this phrase into English, it's x is greater than 4, so I want every situation in which x is greater than 4. So that's going to be on this side. And then because it's got that little line under it, we need to color in the circle because 4 does work for the answer. Really quick, I just want to make sure I did everything right, so I'm going to go back through and just check through my work. So first, did I write down the problem correctly? Checking my paper. Yes, I did. So I put a little check mark to remember that I checked it. Next, did I move the things over correctly? Yes, I did. Now, did I simplify correctly? 3 plus 2 is 5. Yep. 5 plus 15 is 20. Yep. Now, you should be typing this in a calculator to help practice. I'm going a little quicker because this is a video. Now I had to turn the 5 into a 1, so I divided. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Great, I did that. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Did it on both sides. I checked to make sure if it was a negative. Great job. So again, that's what it means to go through and check your work. Let's do the next problem. Okay, so we have m over 3 plus 1/6 is less than 4. All right, I'm going to draw my line to help make sure my writing's clear. Again, this line is just a strategy. You do not have to do that. It's a strategy to help you stay organized. I'm going to put my variables on my left side because I chose to do that. You can do it on any side. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do my constants on my right side. All right. Now, just like normal, I'm going to move all my constants over. So sometimes we get a little confuzzled and we don't see 1/6 as a fraction. So 1/6 is a number that we can move over. Now there are other ways to solve this problem. You can get common denominators and do a whole thing that way too. I like to keep it simple, stupid, so let's go ahead and move that over. Although don't call yourself stupid because that's not kind. Keep it simple, smarty. Let's do that. Keep it simple, smarty. So I'm going to move my 1/6 over to my 4. I want it to be 0 here, so in order to make this 0, make it go away, I subtract it, right? Because 1/6 minus 1/6 is 0. So we're moving our m over 3 down. Sometimes you can even draw an arrow if that helps. This guy's going to be 0 because I'm subtracting it. And then whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. So there is my 1/6 that moved over. It is 0 because I subtracted it on this side. It's now with its friend constant. Now we're going to use a calculator to do 4 minus 1/6 because we want to make sure that we're not tiring our brain out by doing computation that we have calculators for. Okay, that gave me a pretty nasty looking decimal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that into a fraction. So 3 and 5/6, just to make it a little bit easier for me to do my next computation. Again, that's just a button on your calculator. And then the m over 3 is coming down still. All right. As a reminder, this is a fraction bar, and fraction means division. So in order to get rid of that, I am going to multiply by 3. And that works because 1/3, which is essentially what that is, times 3 is 1. And we want it to be 1m. Now whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do on the other. Notice this is still in my calculator. I didn't clear it out. And the reason I didn't clear it out is because I can really easily just click times 3. And I don't have to worry about any extra work. So I'm getting 11.5. So m is less than 11.5. You could have also done 11.5 or as a mixed number. It does not matter. I did not multiply or divide by a negative, so I do not need to flip that inequality symbol. You should be good to go. When I'm graphing that on a number line, I'm going to put that rock star number of 11.5 in the middle. The number to the right is slightly bigger. The number to the left is slightly smaller. I notice it doesn't have that equal to, so that means I'll do an open circle because it's not equal to. And then I notice that it says m is less than. So if I translate that into words, it's m is less than 11.5. So the numbers less than 11.5 are this way. There we go. I'm going to go back through and check my work. So the first thing I did was the opposite of 1/6. So I'm going to type that back in my calculator to make sure I did it right. And again, I get that crazy decimal, so I'm going to turn it into a fraction. Okay, good. I did that. Yes, yes, yes. Then I multiplied by my 3. And I did that right. Go Miss Summit. Woo woo. All right, again, if you want to practice similar problems, just make something up. You can put any numbers in those spots and just solve them like a brand new problem and then Google them to see what the answer is because you know there's a lot of math things out there that will give you the answer to problems. So you can always make up your own numbers so it looks similar to the one that I gave you, solve it, and then check your answer with Google. So like putting like a 5 here or a 2 and a 3, that gives you extra practice. The only way you get good at math is by practicing it. It is problem solving. Okay, this should be the last one on the page. So again, we're just solving it like we solve an equation. Sometimes I actually have my students just change the inequality sign to an equal sign. Because just because it looks different doesn't mean it is. Okay, I'm going to use my strategy of my line to help me remember when I move across. I do the opposite. Then I'm going to write my steps over here just to make sure I do them. Everything I do when I'm teaching you, you can do when you're solving a problem. It gives your brain an extra second to make sure you do the steps, to make sure that your stress is a little lower, that you have everything you need to do. Okay, distribute is our first thing. So you don't have to distribute it. There's actually a bunch of different ways you can solve this. I am going to do the distributive property just because I think it's a little easier. You could also write 3x plus 3 out 2 times. That will have the same effect. I like multiplying because it's a little quicker. But just remember, this means that you have this expression 2 times, so you could write it out twice and get the same answer. I'm going to stay on this side and just keep simplifying it. So 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 3 is 6. And then all of this other stuff gets brought straight down. And I know it's a little obnoxious to write it twice, but that's good math. It's kind of like having good English grammar. I know it's an extra step, but it makes it look nice and it'll help you when you're doing geometry. Now remember, what is your goal when you are simplifying or solving an inequality? Your goal is to get the variable by itself. So I always like to have my letters on the left and my numbers on the right. So that means I'm going to take this 4x and move it over with its friend here. The reason I do the opposite, by the way, is 4x minus 4x is 0, which makes this guy a big 0. I'm going to move this 6 over to be with its friend, the 8. Again, I'm moving it across the line, so it's going to be opposite. And the reason it's opposite is because we want it to completely cancel out from this side. The only way we can make it get away from the 6x is to turn it to 0, and we can turn it to 0 with that additive inverse property, doing the opposites. Alrighty, notice how I did this cloud thing. That's just a strategy to help you stay organized. Remember, you're very smart. It's just sometimes we accidentally do things that make our brain confused and make it harder for us to stay organized. Math stresses a lot of people out, so we have to do things to help us slow down, including breathing. Have you breathed at all while you're watching this video? Make sure you're taking deep breaths. Your brain can't work without oxygen. This literally means I have 6 x's and I'm taking away 4 x's. So if I have 6 x's and I take away 4, I end up with 2, right? And then over here it's negative 8 minus 6. Make sure you're doing stuff like this in your calculator, because in high stress situations, which math is a high stress situation for a lot of people, sometimes we do things wrong and we won't get negative 14. We'll look at it quickly and sometimes we'll get like 2 or negative 2. It's really easy to make mental math mistakes here. So make sure that you're taking that extra second to type in your calculator. I even encourage you to do 6 minus 4 to make sure you did it right. If you do a little extra now, you won't have to do extra later. I'm going to figure out how I get rid of that 2. If I have 2 x's and I want 1x, to turn the 2 into a 1x, I have to divide it. Because 2 divided by 2 is 1. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other to maintain the balance of the equation and to maintain that fairness. Negative 14 divided by 2. Again, let's take that extra second and type it in our calculator just to make sure we do it right. I know that we can do it in our head, but taking that extra second can make a huge difference. There is my answer, almost. See, the thing here is I didn't take my extra second, I just circled it, and I might have made a mistake, so I need to go back through and double check. Okay, 2 times 3, 2 times 3, good. Then 2 times 3 is 6, good. 3 times 2 is 6. I copied this down correctly each time. 6x minus 4x is 2x, good. Negative 8 minus 6 is negative 14, good. And I even want to take that extra time to type it back in my calculator. Looks like I did good. Now I know you're thinking, but Miss Summit, you have that special rule. Did you multiply or divide by a negative? Technically, we did not. So the answer is no. And the reason the answer is no is because we divided by the 2. We didn't divide by the negative 14. So technically, we do not need to flip it. All right, negative 7 is my rock star number. Now remember, when you go on the right, it's actually going to be a smaller negative, because the smaller the negative is, the closer it is to 0 and the closer it is to bigger numbers. Now on the left here, you're going to have a -8. So this is actually smaller, and this is actually bigger. You can always look at a number line to help your resource there. I'm going to do an open circle because it does not have that equal to line. And then the numbers that are greater than x are going to be on your right side. Now a little trick here, by the way, is if you write your variable on the left side, then your inequality sign will point the direction that you're coloring in. Do you see that? All right, that is all of the questions on this page. I do want to go over kind of the brief idea of 7 and 8. So when it says something like circle all the solutions to the inequality, remember, it's anything that could be going this way. So solutions for this one could be -6, it could be 4, it could be 0, it could be 512. It's anything that would be covered going this way. So remember, when you're trying to list solutions, it's any number that is greater than 4. So there are lots and lots of options. Alrighty, hopefully this helps, and I hope you have a wonderful day.